spending 20 a day, but don't have 20 large displays. Okay. We're straight now.
Doesn't stay open.
So each commission
I thought we
meeting,
had a door stop.
everything always starts at 9. It's a work session.
Work session at 9, commission meeting at 11, and today if we don't go all the way till I think 1:50, we still need to stay here for the last piece of action, which is the
agreement.
agreement with the Navajo Nation ACLU.
I saw that on there. Okay, good.
We'll let you present.
I saw your name. I saw your name on it.
That's recorded.
Okay. Did you push anything?
I did.
Okay. Let's everybody see what we're seeing. Okay, just gonna see one.
For Jamie. Sylvia, did you do anything? Did you do anything earth-shattering over the weekend? Not really.
Yeah, no.
Just the normal.
I guess we did go. They had a church.
She
had
has no weekends. She works 12 hours a day, 7 days a week.
24/7.
You see, on Sunday I have a meeting with Westwater.
Oh,
So Saturday or Sunday is when the Navajo Nation had the chapter meetings and things like that. So
so when you say Westwater, you mean the Westwater there in Blanding?
yeah,
Where do you meet with them?
we meet at you know where the driver's license place is, across the elementary, across the middle school,
Yeah.
around the corner.
They have that building there.
Well, they
I
have
know.
a
Well, either way, I'm
Navajo
fine.
Trust Fund have an area,
Whatever you
and
wanna
they
do. Whatever works for you.
I
it has
saw
a
that-
room
I can
like
leave it
this.
here, or-
where they
I
have-
saw they
Just
had
gets
some
rather
land
move
right
out
there.
It
Out
just
of your
gets
way?
tight between
Sure.
you.
I
So
know.
they have a
That's
building
totally
there,
fine.
and
I'm
you
good
meet
with
in a
it.
building there.
I'll
So
just sit down
Westwater
and
comes to the building, to the
Okay.
Navajo Trust Fund building. Because then we have technology and
Okay, we're still waiting for another commissioner to pop in.
whatever,
So
like we have weatherization people.
hopefully it
come
won't be
to
too much
representation
longer. If not, we'll just start
from
without
us
them.
and
So
something.
how many people are in the Westwater?
They have about 20-something.
Katrina, I also sent you an email this morning
You need to drive.
regarding the
It's
total
amazing.
Out there and see- I've
costs of
seen a
what
little
we
bit of it,
spent
but not
in
Well, you need to go
2024
because
for indigent defense, and
You know, you're
all of
working
the,
to get electricity.
I call them
Doing
conflict
that.
attorneys
That's
that are
the
listed
stuff
on
like
there.
that,
You can kind of
the
see that
cars,
history of payments
They
to
have
them as
goals
well.
in Arizona to say they
Yes, thank you. I forwarded that to Matt and Leslie as well.
Okay, perfect.
Well, that's
The lieutenant
Well, I'm
governor
familiar
is
with
coming
Matt,
here for the
certainly.
celebration. Now they have water.
Had several meetings
And they're trying to
with
figure out
him,
how
trying to
meetings
figure out what we need to
It's-
do.
It's so much fun watching them grow, but and all the stuff that they'll have in technology. But so the lieutenant governor's coming, and the president of the Navajo Nation gonna be there, and also a general authority. Now, I guess it's probably Elder Udorf. He was there
Oh,
last
really?
time when we did the electricity celebration. They didn't name the general authority, but
said we'll send someone. Huh?
well, that just said the LDS Church representative. But I was
Bruce
surprised.
is
He's very
checking
short.
in and
He's not
sending
very.
him a
He
letter
looks so.
in case.
I've met him before. Yeah,
He
he's not.
looks
He's
so-
not super tall. Is
He
he?
looks so tall, and I was. People said, "Well, he's
It's a
there. He's
cultural
there."
thing, I
And I
think.
couldn't find him, but then
It's
I
a,
realized. Well,
it's a.
So if I were to
Everybody.
drive through
Yeah.
Being
the
Yes,
neighborhood,
it's
the
a
area,
ton.
kind
I'd
of.
just go like I'm going toward the old dump, and
uh-huh.
then just take that same road.
Yeah, and you can
Just
go.
go all the way through.
Yeah, and you can go one way and then come back the other way. Lots of tourists
Not
go
all
through
of
there,
them,
just
right.
go too fast. And they dance so.
Falls residual into
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
else.
Rocky Pond,
I guess.
and they
So,
win the spray.
I don't know.
They just finished the spray, so they
Keep the dirt,
Uh,
dust
kept the
down.
dirt. We're working on signs now to. We want to say children crossing, but those are
We could,
illegal
you have a
signs
quorum?
nowadays.
Yep.
Can't say
Alright.
children crossing. I don't know. We try to.
Ask.
Yeah. They have
Commissioner,
that
she'd like
quite a
to.
bit in the. Hold us so that that they want to do the winterization, so we're gonna have a celebration there. Invite them, come and help them fill up forms. They can get window replacement, they can do lots of things, and we're trying to find
Hi,
money to
Commissioner
help
Harvey.
build more homes.
Good morning.
Good. How's it going? At
Yeah,
least you didn't miss the flight.
Good
yeah,
morning.
it is interesting this one. Hey,
Good stuff going, hey, Jim.
good morning. It's 9:06. So, to answer your question, I tell the people this is a part-time job because some Sundays I get out.
Yeah. Lots of stuff to do, huh?
I'd like to welcome everyone. Today is April 15, 2025. It's 9:06, and we are called to order for the Board of Commissioners, a work session meeting. So, roll call.
Commissioner Juan here.
Commissioner Stubbs here, and
Commissioner Harvey, present.
okay, so we're gonna turn the time to Matt for the
Yeah,
agenda
so this
items.
first agenda item is the presentation on Utah Indigent Defense Grant Opportunities. Looks like we have a full team from the Indigent Defense Commission staff who are here to present this to you today. This one, just kind of historical context with this is by federal law, the state is required to provide indigent defense. And so if you think of somebody who gets arrested, that statement that if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you free of charge. And so the county has prosecution. That's the county attorney that does, their office does prosecution. And then with that, we have a contracted indigent defense attorney, Thomas Sitterud, who's our contracted vendor for this. We pay him, in his contract is about $174,000 a year to provide indigent defense services, but oftentimes in a small area, and as we kind of face this regional question and issue here in San Juan County, is oftentimes they also have to have a conflict attorney that in case Thomas can't be there, the courts are now also appointing indigent defense counsel, and so we do pay them. I think last year it was around just over $300,000 that we paid in indigent defense attorneys. And so this program here with the Utah Indigent Defense Commission, we're one of the counties. I think there's only 3 counties in the state of Utah who does not participate in grant opportunities or programs with the Utah Indigent Defense Commission. And so I had asked them today to come and present just the opportunities to the commission. In the past, when I've asked our public defender whether or not they wanted to participate in this, they were really worried about going to a regional stance out of price, and they felt that we could do it better here locally. However, we've always been regional. But with that, I invited them to come down, just the team, and come down and present to the commission just to see if there's opportunities for relief or assistance as we look at the tight budget that we have. If there's any opportunities, that the state can help us out. You all know Lorraine Kamalu. She is their chair this year, and she's been pretty vocal with the commission, is just trying to get opportunities for counties to participate more within this fund. And so with that, I turn the time. I believe, Matthew, you've got the ability to run through these slides, and so I turn it over to you.
Great. Well, thanks for that introduction, Mac. I appreciate you setting the table there. Let me first introduce the team that I have with me. My name is Matt Barraza. I'm the Executive Director of the Indigent Defense Commission. I've been in this role for just over 3 years now, and prior to that, I was a public defender in Salt Lake County for 15 years. And with me, I have Zoraya. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Zariah Gatmeyer, and I'm the managing and training attorney here at the IDC. And prior to that, I was a public defender also in Salt Lake County for 11 years.
Next, we have Katrina.
Hi, I'm Katrina Adair. I'm the grant program manager, and I've been with the IDC for about 5 years now. Glad to meet you all.
And finally, we have Josh.
My name is Joshua Buhe. I'm the financial analyst for the IDC. I've been with the IDC for about 1.5 years now.
Well, I just want to talk generally about the Indigent Defense Commission and how we came to be. As Mac mentioned, the counties have the responsibility to provide not only the prosecution, local prosecution services, but then also the state is delegated to the county responsibility for providing public defense for people who can't afford attorneys who are charged criminally. Up until 2016, that was completely left up to the counties. Over the years, though, there's been several studies and reports and task forces that recognize the need to have more state involvement, have any state involvement really, to help fund those services, but then also to provide training and technical support as well, and some oversight to the people who are doing that work. So we were created in 2016 by the legislature with that mission is to help provide effective defense services throughout the state. And one of the main ways that we do that is through a grant program that we operate. And with that funding, it's a competitive grant process that we conduct every year. And we engage with the local leadership to help understand what the needs are on a local level. And we also collect data throughout the year to help us understand where the needs are most acute for additional funding to help support additional attorneys to do the work in a particular region. Public defenders have historically been saddled with high caseloads, and that prevents them from being able to provide the services and the time and the energy that they need in order to better represent their clients. And so what we try to do is to identify areas where those caseloads are extremely high and provide funding for additional contracts to have more people doing the work and sharing that caseload. In addition to the grant program, though, we do offer training. We do online training throughout the year, several times a month, and we provide that at no cost to public defenders throughout the state. We also are responsible for establishing standards, not only standards for the attorneys who are doing the work, but then we also have developed a series of principles that help to ensure that a system is that has the structure in place to provide adequate and effective public defense. And so we encourage there to be a managing defender in place to help supervise and monitor the work that's going on. We also want to make sure that the defense function is independent of other parties. It's very important that public defenders are able to zealously advocate for their clients, even if those clients are maybe unpopular or oftentimes they're accused of doing pretty trying to think of the right word. Pretty unpopular things, atrocious things. You know, sometimes there's some very serious crimes that are alleged, and we want to make sure that they can zealously represent their clients without having any kind of interference on the part of the prosecution or other parties. And we also want to make sure that they have adequate funding and are able to access resources such as investigators or expert witnesses as needed in order to properly represent their clients. As Mac mentioned, we do partner with the majority of the counties throughout the state. There are currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including San Juan, who are not part of our grant program. We do encourage regionalization where it's appropriate in order to pool resources between neighboring counties, and that does help the counties who engage in that by keeping costs down. Mac, you mentioned that there's $300,000 that were spent last year on conflict counsel. When we try and regionalize, that's one way that we can help keep costs down by having contracts with neighboring counties and neighboring attorneys to provide those contract services and have that conflict under contract. And so that keeps costs down by having a set fixed price for those services. But in addition to helping save costs, it also helps with the management of those contracts, and also with some of the grant reporting that happens by regionalizing. That helps lighten the load as far as the gathering the data and complying with the financial piece of the grant reporting. In addition to the grant opportunities, just by participating and engaging with the IDC and reporting, we do collect data, as I mentioned, to help us understand what's going on a local level and to help us make our decisions as far as our funding goes. And so we rely on the county to be able to provide that information, usually directly from the attorneys themselves. They report their caseloads to us, or through a managing defender who will gather that information and provide that to us. And by participating that way, in addition to any potential grant opportunities, we also do, in exchange for providing that information, we do offer some services outside of the grant program. That includes making a language line available to the attorneys doing the work. So that helps to, they just call in and there's somebody on call 24/7 to be able to translate when needed. And they do provide Navajo translation services, which I think would be really a good resource to have in San Juan County. I mentioned the training opportunities. We also do provide defense resources. We have a fund that helps to pay for expert referrals for technical medical type cases, also investigative services. And we also provide some reimbursement for travel costs. I know that in some of the states or some of the counties throughout the state, it's necessary to contract with attorneys who live outside the county, and that can be hard to attract qualified people to do that because of those travel costs. And so we help to reimburse for mileage and any kind of hotel stays when necessary to help defray some of those costs and make it more attractive to get people from outside the county to come and and, 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 I'm gonna just put Katrina on the spot here. And Katrina, is there any other thing you want to mention as far as some of the services that we provide as part of our uh, grant partnership?
Just wanted to emphasize that we have had counties who start the journey with us by having a contract with us to provide the reporting, but they don't necessarily get a grant to begin with, but they do access these other services that we offer and some of the other supplemental funding that is available. And then later on, they may actually get a grant when they work with us and we figure out what needs are there and how we can structure a grant that would be useful and productive. So you don't necessarily have to have a grant in order to access these services and resources that we offer. I just wanted to make sure that you know that.
That is a brief overview of what we do and what we can do in order to help San Juan County and the work that's being done there. Happy to field any questions though about the process or what's available. We do have our grants open right now, open for applications, and those are due May 1st. So it's a relatively quick turnaround there. There is some flexibility though. I know that that's just a couple weeks away. So if San Juan would like to apply for a grant, we'd be happy to have an additional meeting to talk about what we think would be a good proposal from San Juan. We do a series of what we call collaborative meetings leading up to those grant applications being submitted so that we can help make sure that the applications are the most likely to be funded. The commission itself reviews those grants and makes the decisions sometime in June.
I have a question. Is this just one grant or you have multiple grants?
We have multiple grants that we provide throughout the state. They are all done at the same time, though. It is an annual cycle that we operate on according to the fiscal year. So the grants would start July 1st through June of next year.
Also, is there a match required for the grant?
Nope. No
Anyway.
match. No. Mm-mm. One of the requirements that we do have is that there is a rule against supplantation. So basically, with your contract that you have in place, the grant couldn't be used to reduce costs on that primary contract. There's some nuance there I think with your spending on conflicts, it appears that those are kind of an as needed expenditure. And so we can talk more about that. But the main rule is the rule against that supplantation with the grants. Katrina, I'm sorry, you were about to say something. I don't know if you have more to add.
Not the same thing, so that it's to supplement, not to supplant funding.
Thank you. Commissioner Mann has a question for you.
So you, excuse me, you spoke about regional. So I can see that Grand County has this grant. So if we were going to go regional, how would that work if they already have the grant and we didn't have one?
I think one of the primary opportunities to collaborate regionally with in Grant County in particular, I think that's probably the best fit. Especially, I was looking at those conflict expenditures, and a lot of those attorneys who are being appointed on those cases are out of Grant County, so they're already kind of doing that work on an ad hoc basis. But I think the first opportunity would be to partner with Managing Defender. So they have a Managing Defender in place and a grant that helps support that right now. And I think that it would be very easy for that person to act as the managing defender for San Juan as well. And so that person would do the work as far as getting people under contract, ensuring that those contracts are in place and advertised, screening the applications that way and presenting those to the commission for approval. That person could also field requests for defense resources, and handle a lot of just the administrative tasks involved with not only the grants, but then also just the management of the defense service providers in San Juan as well. So I think that would be the first way that you could regionalize with grant.
So is that application for that, is it quite complicated? I mean, is it like doable by May 1st for our county?
I think so. And like I said, we were happy to meet further with Mac or whoever else would be involved with that process. We've, I think, improved it over the years to make it as streamlined as possible. And there's a brief executive summary that goes along with it, but then most of it is just providing documentation about what currently is in place, which I think Mac has just done this morning. And so I think it's doable, but then also that May 1st application deadline, there's some wiggle room there. So if you need some additional time, I'm sure we can accommodate that.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to add, Mac is really good at writing grants. He have been doing this for us. So Commissioner Harvey has a comment.
Good morning to all the staff at the Indigent Defense Commission. I thought it said Indigenous Defense Commission. But anyhow, I want to express my appreciation for your time to come to our county to educate us a little more about the Defense Commission and the resources that are available. I have 4 points. Hopefully my thoughts don't fail me. So I'm going to try and organize my areas into 4 specific things I want to share. The first one is to the grant that was shared, the information regarding the grant. I have a little group that meets monthly. It's a group of, we call it the CJC, Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. We're scheduled to meet this Friday. I believe, Mac, we set it for noon, didn't we?
I believe so.
And we set it for landing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But we do have a link.
10 o'clock is when it starts.
10 o'clock is our meeting time. And so I'd like to welcome you to come to our meeting. We're actually having the Utah Association of Counties, the one that's with criminal justice, come to provide data that she was able to access for our county. And I know that we have a priority of, it's not necessarily it's a project list that we've created with, I believe, 8 areas we wanted to focus on. We'd like to make sure you are able to receive that to determine how maybe the resources you have might support us and our priorities in our county. The second thing I just wanted to inquire on is the reporting that was mentioned by Matt, where you're actually getting attorneys to report caseload information and case types and such. Does the Defense Commission provide annual reports that are public information? And is there reports available that outline information for our county that maybe we might be able to review? I imagine if they're filed annually, we just don't know where to go, what links to navigate. I know that when it comes to, my best example is always Health and Human Services. When you're looking at child abuse data, you have to go through all the different links to get to the annual reports, and then you stumble across to the state and federal data. So some of us aren't quite skilled in navigating through those menus. So that's one I would like to make a request for. Perhaps if you're able to come to our CJC meeting on Friday, that might be available for us at that time. Finally, in regards to the application process for those individuals that are in the system that are seeking legal support, what I'm familiar with is it's usually at the initial hearing that the judge will inquire whether or not a person wants to have legal representation. And I think there's an exchange directly with the client and the judge in regards to income and how to access the application. And I think the judge usually pulls out the application form and has the person fill out that information then and there. And then I think the judge will appoint an attorney. And I think for us, 7th District Court, I've had a lot of time with Judge Manley. Wonderful judge, especially when you're a caseworker with DCFS. You enjoy all the wonderful decisions that are rendered with the division. But she's such an awesome judge because of active efforts for Indian child welfare, and I miss that. But I know that Judge White will be awesome for that role. And I think the biggest challenges we've had is being able to assist those clients with the application process, because I know it asks for income, it asks for assets, bank account. It's kind of like applying for financial assistance almost, and you don't have that information readily available in court. And it's the last thing you expect when you're standing before a judge. And because our court is being renovated, sometimes when you're asking for help, you're escorted to a computer station and you're just told, this is the link, fill out the form, give us your information when you're done. And a lot of the Native Americans and also the Spanish people that are here, our friends, our community members, some of them can't read, don't write. They won't tell you, but they'll look at that, and first time sitting in front of a computer, what do? And so there's that need that exists. Not only do we have someone who isn't available to help fill the forms, but someone to clarify what fields are important to complete and who to submit information to, especially when you need like income and bank account. So I think there's a need there, not only for Native American families, but also for our Spanish cousins, sisters that are here. And that's always been a challenge. And we're not good at asking for help because we're already in trouble and we're already seen as someone who needs the help, and we're asking for even more help when we're in trouble, and that's hard. So that is kind of a highlight that I'm aware of that's there. And so I think that support in any shape or form to be that go-to would be excellent. A lot of folks I've seen travel from Monument Valley to drive to court, and that's about an hour and a half to Monticello, and that's a long distance to travel. And then you're asked to bring these documents back within X amount of time, or else it's not going to happen. Well, you got families that don't have the resources. Fuel is expensive, and the distance. And a lot of these don't have access to transportation. And so that's a struggle too. But moving on to my final point, that is just kind of sharing the court system in our county that does exist. Because of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, we're able to bring in not only our judge with the public safety here, but also we're trying to engage the tribes. We actually have an Anath District Court that's in the Navajo Nation. Judge Irene Black is the judge in Anath District Court. If you've never been to Anath, it's literally the corner just south of us, right next to probably, I'd say 20 miles from the Four Corners Monument. There's that court, and then there's the Kayenta Court, which is just only maybe 30 miles from Monument Valley, the Kayenta Court. And I know that there's some need to do better coordination among us to not only share the resources, but also to just educate about the Defense Commission and the resources that are there. I really appreciate the interpretive services. That's very valuable. It helps to share some of the legal jargon that's shared in court to simple terms, so that the folks that are in the system can understand the process that's there and the information that's being exchanged between the attorneys and the judge. So we have those tribal court. In fact, I think there's a Justice Day coming up in May in Anath, and I think we'll talk about that in our Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, where the tribe actually has a day set aside in Anath to invite the public to learn more about the tribal courts. And I think our presence as a county to also be available to the community there would be a huge thing, because once you leave tribal lands and you go past tribal lands, then you've got the city judges, then you've got the state judges, and so there's a layered kind of justice system, and then of course the jurisdiction, and we want to try and work through the jurisdictions so that we can have shared resources and exchange of valuable information. Anyhow, I'm taking too much time. I always do that. I'm long-winded sometimes. Forgive me, Madam Chair. But these are, I think, important points just to share, just to maybe illustrate us from our county. But thank you for the work you do. If you're able to attend our meeting on Friday, that would be really, really awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you for those thoughtful comments, Commissioner Harvey. If I could just briefly touch on some of those, if there's time to do that. We would love to attend the Criminal Justice Committee meeting. In fact, Zariah, who's on the call with us today. She has been gathering the strategic plans from all the counties, and so I know that she's already taken a look at the work that you have been doing on that, and we'd love to sit in and learn more about some of the things that you're working on and some of what your needs are. As far as the annual reports go, we do have those available on our website. Those are more geared towards a summary of the work that we do each year. So they don't necessarily have the level of specificity as far as the county by county numbers go, but we do have some information on what the data is in San Juan just based on court data. So we do collect some court data, and we are able to compare that county by county. So this slide shows the comparison between San Juan and Grand County. Some of the data is less reliable from the court because of how they count certain cases, especially in the juvenile court context. So that's why it's important for us to collect the caseload data from the attorneys directly as well and compare those and try and hone in on how many actual cases are being handled there. But we would be happy to kind of take a deep dive on the data with you at one of the future criminal justice committees as well. I think the parties there would be eager to hear all of that. And as far as the appointment goes, that issue we know is important to a lot of people. Having an attorney there at that first appearance court is something that we've worked to encourage counties and the attorneys who are there to do for those very reasons, right? To help assist people who are there for the first time, who may have never had any interaction with the criminal justice system and are frankly terrified of what's going on. So having somebody who is there who can explain the process, help answer any questions that they might have, help with the appointment affidavit, that's definitely something that we encourage, and as we engage in the future with San Juan and the people who are doing the work there, that's something that we can brainstorm and try and find ways for them to help with that piece as well.
Thank you. I also want to thank Commissioner Harvey. He did such a good job explaining what it's like for San Juan County to live among two nations, basically. And that third one, we have a youth reservation also. And so we need somebody like Commissioner Harvey. He knows how to navigate the two systems, and it's something that, that we really appreciate having him as an ambassador for both nations in a way. And so things are a little bit different when you deal with multiple nations, because you have to respect they are a nation, and we have to be careful how we approach things as a county. And I just do you have any more comments?
I do just have one clarifying question. So on a previous slide, did I read that it is mandated for the data to be reported to the IDC, whether you participate in the grant or not? And I see that we are not. So is there any penalties, or, would that affect the grant, and where does that lie, and how far have we never done that?
That is in statute that all counties are required to report certain data to us annually. There is no sanction for that, but in order to receive the grants, that is part of the grant agreement, is that you report annually the information that we request. And so and as Katrina mentioned earlier, even if you don't receive a grant or apply for a grant, if you do, we take a a carrot approach rather than a stick approach with that requirement. So if you do report the data and enter into a data sharing agreement with us, then you're eligible for some of those additional benefits, the language line, the access to the travel reimbursement fund, the defense resources fund. So good catch on that slide there. That is in statute, but going forward, providing that data and engaging with that will make you eligible for those additional benefits.
So it would be a going forward. So having not reported, we would not have to gather all that prior to the grant. It would be, you could get it and then reporting requirements thereafter. Okay,
And
thank you.
again, it's not onerous. It's basically the information that
Sure.
that MAC has already provided to us just in the last couple days.
All right, thank you for the information.
Sure.
Well, just like to thank you for coming and offering this opportunity to us. We are, in a way, very needy in San Juan County when it comes to funds. And so I appreciate you coming here to explain to us. We appreciate Administrator Mac for looking for sources to help with our finances. And we're looking forward to work with you. And thank you so much. And our doors are open anytime you want to come in person. And I always bribe people we have a restaurant that make the best Navajo tacos. So if you guys come this way, we'll treat you to that. Thank you.
I was down in Bluff a few months ago for the first time and really enjoyed my time there. It's beautiful country.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us to your meeting. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you guys. Sure appreciate it.
And I will send this slideshow to Mac and you can share it with others so you have this information.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll send you the invitation for the Friday meeting if any of you want to attend that one, and then we'll stay in touch, see if we can get an application in there. But I was really hoping that you'd just say there's a bucket of money and the county can apply for that for immediate relief. And so, but understandable, the program. But thank you guys. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Alrighty. So the next piece on your agenda is item number 2, which is a discussion regarding the proposed 2025 landfill fee schedule changes. We have Jed here, our landfill manager, operator, all extraordinaire.
Good morning.
About all extraordinaire, but we work at it hard. So primarily this proposal is in regards to a suggestion made by Commissioner Mon last time when we were applying and talking about our money for the truck. She suggested that we should have a smaller increase every year instead of trying to wait several years and have a large increase. And I agree with that. I think that's a good philosophy and a good plan. I know that last year when we got our increase, we were doing an overall county fee schedule.
Yes, yep.
And maybe that's something we should consider every year as well, because I remember hearing from someone, I think it was yesterday, that they needed to work on fees as well. But anyway, so our proposal primarily would change our annual income by about $30,000 a year. So that's $2 a ton to our fees equivalents about $30,000 a year of additional income. We had $2 last year, and my proposal is to increase by $2 every year up till the point we get to $52, which still leaves us under all the surrounding area landfills by about $2 a ton. And the reason I want to stay under them is just to entice the areas that do come to us that could choose to go either way to come to us. Purpose of that is to help us be better on replacing equipment, infrastructure, whatever we would need to do. So if you look at the proposal, it also addresses changing some of our minimum charges. And we did not change those on the last fee proposal. We just changed our tonnage charges. What we have found if you also look there, like for instance, we say a single axle trailer or a pickup or whatever is subject to weighing at $48 a ton. We have done some surveys and some estimates, and we've changed all of our pricing schedules to subject to weighing, because sometimes you'll see a pickup come in, and it's easier to just say, okay, that's a $10 load, go through the gate and go get done. But when they've got a cattle rack on that's stacked 10 feet high and it's clear full of trash, then I'm going to suggest that we weigh that load. What we're finding is a load like that is probably a $30 load instead of a $10 load. With the same thing, and this has come about in the last few years, especially with the addition of these big dump trailers that everybody has gone out and purchased, is they can put a lot of weight in a dump trailer. And we in prior years, we were charging just a minimum of $15 for a double axle dump trailer. When we started weighing those loads, some of those loads were as high as $90 to $150 loads. And so we've changed that we put all of those loads subject to weight. If we see one come in and they've got a few bags thrown in the back, then we're okay with the minimum charge. We also have what we call a punch card, and that addresses the citizen who's got 3 or 4 bags, comes down, he wants to just get rid of his 3 or 4 bags. And what that allows him to do is bring up to 4 just bagged trash. And most of those people that have punch cards come in a car. Most of them come from the reservation or from south. Some of them bluff. And they don't have dumpsters at home or whatever, and they just gather their bags and bring them to the landfill as they go to work in Blanding or wherever. And that punch pass allows 4 dumps of 4 bags each time. Now, if they come and they show up and they have 6 bags, then we just punch the card twice. And so that's made it more fair for that citizen that's trying to get rid of that trash. And so those are our proposals. We've made some other proposals to, for instance, animal byproducts. And our dead animals, all those require quite a bit more extensive preparation at the landfill to get ready to take those types of items. We've had requests recently from Blue Mountain Meats and some of them who in the past have just been taking their animal waste to somebody's land and using it like a fertilizer or whatever, however they're getting rid of it, plowing it in or whatever. But I think they're getting more restrictions on that too and are looking for places to put it. And if we start taking that waste, I've proposed to go from $60 a ton to $100 a ton because it requires so much more extensive process to take care of that waste, especially in all that waste has to be a separate hole dug for it, has to be buried every day, has to be covered completely every day. It can't be left out open at all. So anyway, so those are the proposals that are in there. And if I'm here to answer any questions you would have.
I have a question. Are you planning to implement that right now?
No, we can't. We have to have as Matt pointed out, we have to have a public comment period and a hearing, correct?
No, what I mean this year.
Yes.
To implement this year.
I'd like to get them going by June 1st if possible.
But we already had the budget for this year, so
Yes.
don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, another thing, we just have the same number of people, and if we keep going for taxes or different things increasing, I just kind of worry that we're trying to make money out of people that don't have much money.
I understand that, but
Yeah,
but-
I understand you how did you need more money, but so if we're trying to look more money for equipment, I mean, every time you have come here before us, I always have been supportive, very, very supportive from day one about you getting your new building and all the stuff. So I'm really supportive. I just had to think about for this time other people. And, I want to share a story quickly. When we were in the University Village going to school, we were a bunch of poor students. And we would do a Tupperware party, event party. And one day my husband came and said, look like you guys just bleeding each other because we're not making any money. We're just trying to get money. I was all poor people. And so as I was looking this, I started thinking, we have so many increases in permits and everything that we only have a certain number of people that we are going after. And I understand they need to have equipment and all that stuff. So I do have a concern at this time to come up, you know.
And I understand that. Those are good concerns to have.
And
But
so-
from the perspective of the landfill is an enterprise fund. That means we don't use any tax dollars to run it. And we also have increases in fuel. We have increases in equipment repairs.
yeah.
Our average part, when we go to get any part to repair anything at the landfill's well over $1,000 most of the time. And so we have increases continually we're dealing with too. And so in order to keep up with being able to
So
take
that-
care of the garbage, we
Yeah.
have to keep up with those increases.
Yeah, I just think the difference is best to, because you can make and meet for what you have budget this year, it's different than trying to look for right now. I'm very confident that this will improve for us if we keep working in that direction, looking opportunity to, like today we had the opportunity to save some money by bringing, lawyers.
Right.
And so, and basically that's my take, that if we look at your budget, you're becoming short at your budget, then we can probably, but to either by taxing the people or by the charge, because all this cost is going to pass, to the
Understand.
to the public, and so that's my concern. I don't know what you guys.
Personally, I think I like this proposal more. The fact that I would rather make this increments, along the way than when we have to do big jumps. Big jumps are where the public really scream out. That's where I feel that they scream out. I think when we make small increments, the other problem too that I see is that I don't even know, like, let's just say I had an Airbnb. And I felt this increase. I would think you could maybe raise your Airbnb fee by $5 to help cover that, because they're the ones who are generating the trash. So the people that are coming in here and then leaving. So, I think there's ways that businesses and that can adjust when they have this. But I really do not like large incremental increases. I think that's where I feel the public has really done their outcry. So personally, I would like to see this come as a public hearing to see where the public kind of lands with it and see what they feel on it. I see a lot of these are $5 jumps, but at the same time, I also
So
go ahead.
I'll explain the $5 jump. So last year we had a $2 jump in tonnage increase, but did not increase any of our minimum charges.
Right.
So with another $2 increase, I would like to increase the minimum charge to get to that point to where it justifies $4 worth of instead of $2. And then the next $2, if you'll see in the bottom there, we trying to implement $2 a ton for next 3 years. And then the next time I would not increase the minimum charge either. So we tried to make an adjustment on the minimum charges that would take care of several increases.
Okay.
Before we'd have to look at those.
Because then that jump wouldn't be so big.
Right.
Every time we turn around, right?
Correct.
So, okay. That's kind of where I land on it.
Well, just some feedback, Jed. I really value the fact that your priority is to really work towards improving the quality of the landfill, and I'm sure you're looking at resources to cover costs that are there, and that's awesome. I value that, and I share that sentiment about how we can do more. So I don't want to leave you feeling dampered with my thoughts, but more maybe if we put our minds together through some suggestions, we'll get to that goal that you're seeing. And I value Commissioner Mon's comments about let's take these incrementally as opposed to jumping suddenly. And I think that's a really good idea. What I want to focus on in my thoughts, maybe some recommendations, is I believe the last conversation I remember about the landfill had a lot to do with the capacity of the landfill. I remember a project where there was efforts being done to put layers on top of the garbage so they can compact.
Correct.
And I believe we were looking at maybe opening up some new cells, and then maybe I understood it incorrectly, but the thought was we're gonna end up filling those cells pretty soon.
Correct.
And so that's the concern. I think we also need to focus on, and here's where my biggest thoughts are. In my area, Aneth, I know they rely on the service we have at the county because locally they established a landfill through the trust fund.
Correct.
And so they're currently shipping garbage to the landfill. I know at some point Halchita, Mexican Water, Mexican Hat's probably doing that already. My point is this: the chapters are also being very proactive with being more available to their communities and then taking those garbages they collect from their communities to the county landfill.
Correct.
They're also charging locally. Here's the problem. They're going to charge, what they charge locally is based on the income of the community. It's not going to line up with what we're going to propose to charge at the county level. And so the price is going to be different. So we probably need to align those, maybe have some conversations locally with the chapters so that we're all on the same page on costs. The heat I get as a commissioner is that the Utah Navajo Trust Fund put the money down to create the landfill. And so that's an important contribution that the Utah Navajo chapters have this thought process on. And to say we're going to raise prices is kind of counterproductive to that intent to let's get an affordable landfill for everyone. They don't see what you see though, which is equipment, fuel. We just barely put a nice building there for you to utilize, and it's really awesome to see that. Mm-hmm. Those are kind of some of the thoughts that I'm weighing, and I think let's work, as Commissioner Mon had the excellent suggestion to let's take these in steps. Let's also alert. I feel they're critical partners. The tribal communities, Aneth, Mexican Water, City of Bluff probably has some important thoughts too. Also Halchita, Navajo, not Navajo Mountain, but Monument Valley, and let's have a conversation. They need to know what's happening at the landfill too. You know, the space, the limited space, and the capacity. if everyone is on the same page in regards to why the price, the space, that would be impactful, I think. Because if I walk back to my community and announce, hey, guess what? I just approve a price hike, the community is going to wrestle me to the ground and say, since when did we give you the authority to impact our pocketbooks, you know? And I don't want to be put in that situation because I feel the public needs to have some input.
I agree.
And so, but don't lose the spirit of let's do better, let's do more.
Right.
But
Well,
we
I
can
think
do it
that's
together.
the reason we go to the process of having hearings and public notices and
Yeah,
all
we
that.
appreciate that.
One of the areas you need to consider as we consider this is that the process you're talking about of capacity, landfill capacity, and all that is all a factor. Currently, under the original plan of the landfill that was developed back in the 1990s, the landfill should have took us to the year of 2050. Well, trash has accelerated. The landfill will no longer take us to the year 2050. At best, we're going to get to 2045 with the anticipated years. All future planning of the landfill, and we have plenty of land set aside down there for landfill, but you have to have a plan that's approved by the DEQ of the state, approved and ready to go for when you get to your capacity. And you have to have some of that landfill already closed and completed at that point. Knowing that we have to be till 2045 means we have about 5 years to put a plan into place. Maybe not even quite that long. We need to be in that process right now of planning. Most of that original engineering that we had done when we started the landfill was upwards in the neighborhood of $200,000 and $300,000. So if we wait till we have a budget shortfall to start all of this, then we're going to have to go back to that process of going for great big increments instead of trying to increase it a little bit at a time. Taking care of trash is not an option anymore. It's mandated. And if we don't do it, we're going to come into those huge budget shortfalls. Taking care of trash is becoming more expensive, not less expensive, on a continual basis. And if we want to move towards programs for in instance of recycling and that type of stuff that'll help us to save landfill capacity, it'll help us. One of the common misconceptions about recycling is, oh, that should reduce the cost of trash. It doesn't. In fact, all the equipment to handle all that recycling is even more expensive. All that does is say, okay, instead of throwing so much trash away, we're going to make it where it's reusable at some point, so we're not throwing as much away. So recycling is not free by any means. So that's the spirit behind this proposal, is to try to avoid some of those shortfalls, because they're going to come up. They're going to be approaching us pretty quick, because we're probably about a year and a half of having to be into our last cell, and our last cell will probably not take us more than 10 years.
So,
Commissioner Harvey has a comment.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair. One suggestion, and this may be something you might want to consider. I know when it comes to recycling, instead of looking at raising prices, if the chapters understood the equipment is needed for the recycling, I know the Trust Fund and the Navajo-Utah Commission would be willing to invest in machines to help recycle. And that, I think, would be a good partnership in exchange
Especially if we can
for
do the
prices.
chapters with the NRF funds, we can.
Because I'm thinking the steel that you've been collecting and selling, that's a superb
That's a good
program.
idea.
That's the only thing we're able to recycle right now.
And right now, when you look down the roads of my community, our roads shimmer. I don't know if that's really cool or what, but it shimmers in the moonlight, and it's because of all that glass. But if they could figure out that if they can not throw the glass out the window, but bring it to the landfill, maybe that would help with that issue. Although I do enjoy the shimmering sometimes
And
in a
we're
romantic
working, we're
evening.
working forward to all those
Yeah.
situations. I mean, currently we've an application in for a $5 million grant to help us with recycling.
But my point is, if we can work with the tribes in that fashion to say, we have a landfill, we need to work together to create a plan that will sustain our county and the garbage you're bringing in. If we can focus on recycling and investing on systems, machinery to recycle, that would be, I think, it's an effort worth exploring. And you have two commissioners
I agree.
that are on that end who can help
we can
with that.
partnership with Navajo Trust Fund, and we can do special projects where they can have, recycle places. Yeah, I think that can be one, solution. But one of the
Yeah,
things,
I'm willing to go any of those avenues. I mean,
yeah, and I
I'm not beyond looking for. In
Yeah.
fact, Mac and I met with a gentleman 2-3 weeks ago. That's his purpose, is to go find ways to help rural counties.
My thing is also, this seems like we are constantly being asked to raise prices, with permits and things like that. That was something, well, okay, we'll do it. But then if every department comes asking to increase the budget by us approving things that we don't feel at this time, where we are trying to figure out how we're going to navigate with federal funds being cut, and we depend lots on federal funds. And our population is diminishing, and people are not happy out there by some of the things we are passing. And so, and it's not financially, it's not a good time for anybody in our county. And I remember the first time I went to your little place and how everybody was working hands over, and I sat down there and saw that, and I knew that I wanted to improve that. And you have an amazing building. I feel like personally, I have support everything that have come from you. I'm very supportive about the things you
I
have
agree.
done
We've been
there.
very appreciative of that.
And and so this is not saying no to your program. This is saying we have to wait. That's where I'm coming from. And you guys do amazing things. I like stopping there sometime and seeing, what you guys are doing, and it's so nice to have all the.
And the improvements have been fantastic. We're just so far behind in the improvements.
Yeah.
It's where we need to try to do more.
And so we just have to keep, that's just my opinion. I don't think that we can bleed each other, basically. That's what's happening right now. And I would support anything. And I know good times will come if we work together and we just, that's my opinion. So
Okay.
do we have a motion?
I have another comment. So
Okay.
I guess I'm not necessarily asking for a wait, more than maybe you look into the request of the other two commissioners to work with those chapter houses and keep this moving forward. I think if we just wait, then that's where we get in trouble, is we wait and then it comes back in a year or 2 years from now, and then that's exactly that gap that we have that is so huge, and then we have to implement it because our backs are against the wall, which is exactly what I want to avoid. So whether it's working with these two commissioners with the chapter houses and having some public hearings and community input from those communities down there, so we could have a direction to move forward.
Right.
But I don't want to just see this just halted or just wait, because otherwise it will drop or fall.
Well, I agree, and we're
move
facing
forward.
some pretty serious concerns already.
Absolutely.
Like, for instance, right now, we can't pump our well, and the reason we can't pump our well to get water to put on the dirt that we're putting down And if we don't put water on the dirt we put down, the trucks get stuck. The problem we're having is our generator is having an issue right now. It overheats when we pump the well. So we've been looking for a new radiator for the generator now for months. It's on back order nationwide. And so at some point I may have to just shut it down, pull the generator out, take it to a radiator shop and say, I need you to redo all this. And in the process of doing that, then I'm even in bigger trouble. I get further and further behind. And we're starting to see a lot of those kind of issues just because, I mean, just like the other day, you gave me a call about trash on the highway. Well, what should have been done when the landfill was originally built, they should have put a chain link fence around the entire landfill. Right. That's what's around 100% of landfills around the state except ours. We put a barbed wire fence around it. Well, trash blows straight through a barbed wire fence. Trash goes to a chain link fence and it stops. So areas like that, we've been trying to add 500 feet of chain link fence a year. A lot of those areas are going to get us in trouble in a really quick fashion if we're not staying ahead of that.
So, and I appreciate the forward thinking, and that's exactly what I think. So maybe, I don't know.
I'd love to work with these other agencies. I've been working with a gentleman from the BIA currently. In fact, I'm supposed to be in Window Rock next Tuesday with him.
And that's what we need to do. We need to be, instead of reacting too quick, we need to figure out solution. Maybe we can work with community development. Maybe there's some grants out there for chain link fence. I don't know. But let's just, get new customers. They're just trying to charge the people that we're charging in different directions,
Right.
But
I think if we were able to look at the overall picture of everything, it's probably going to require both.
Yeah.
Because I think the operating budget to the landfill is going to need this pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think the equipment that we're talking about, almost every machine we buy is at least $500,000. And our compactors, which is our most critical machine, both of them currently are almost 20 years. One of them's 30 years old. One of them's almost 20 years old. Those are $1.5 million machines.
Yeah.
They're hard to replace even with little increments. So I think what you're suggesting, Commissioner Harvey, is fantastic. That would help with some of that type of stuff. But I think you're going to still have the same issue in the operating budget of the landfill at some point. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for your time.
One of the things that we could do is just go out, similar to what Commissioner Harvey has mentioned, is take the proposal and thoughts out to the community and have meetings with the community so that they understand. Oftentimes when you see us have a public hearing, we don't get a lot of public input, but I think going to the communities and having the discussions with them first and just basically pleading your case. Hey, this is the problem that we're in, and we're all in this together, and propose the solutions to them so that they're fully aware of the changes that you're recommending here. We can talk to Monticello and Blanding. Last time we increased fees, not prior to Jed being here, but before that, this really put a burden on the cities as well when we increased fees, because then the cities won't take the brunt of it. They'll push it to the citizens as well. But it did cost them in their operations. And so by having these meetings with them at a local level, that may help kind of
I wonder if we could
grease the skids a little.
I wonder if we can put an insert, the cities send the bills, an insert displaying.
At a cost, yeah. We can talk with them and
Had
just
that,
come up
because
with
we have to
solutions.
think different ways to advertise public meetings. For some reason, they're not getting the way we're doing it.
Yeah, and that's why I think taking
So we
it
have to
directly to
be-
them may help. I mean, I know that Blanding used to have their drop-off location. They stopped doing that after we increased fees.
Mhm.
And that hurt the citizens there in Blanding, where now they have to take it all the way down to White Mason. So it's maybe we go out on the communication trail and just market this and see what the
And
feedback
if we
is.
talk to
and
the
bring it back.
cities and see, like Monticello and Blanding, if they can put information in their monthly
flyer.
bill where they can go and they can be notified with that. But
Okay, thank you. Maybe one thing, Commissioner Harvey, I'll tell you about Aneth, when you talked about their concern. I know we pick their trash up, but when you go to the Aneth transfer station, the new one they just built, they actually charge double the fees that we charge. And so you have a lot of your Aneth residents still that are not going to the transfer station are still bringing their trash all the way to the landfill.
Yeah, so they're always shopping for the cheaper stuff.
Yeah, and what they're trying to do at Aneth is recuperate some of their cost of building the new transfer station, which, if I understood right, was all done under a grant. So
right.
Anyway,
we do need to speak the same language in all of our respective communities. And one thing I was going to suggest in regards to what Commissioner Mon says, we do need to keep this moving. We can't just touch on it and then revisit it next year or two.
Right.
What I would suggest is we created a priority listing with the committee. Can you put together your priority for us?
Sure. I already have one.
And maybe we can start taking that out to the respective communities.
Yeah.
To be fair, maybe we can put some timelines on this, Commissioner Mon.
I'm thinking, I don't know why in 3 months we couldn't have visited the communities and have report back on what we've learned.
Okay.
3-month time frame work.
Yep, I think we could.
Let's try it.
All right.
Let's maybe talk about the priority, bring the reality of the cells and the capacity of the landfill, and start having those conversations about why the fees is something the county is considering. I think that would be helpful.
In that process too, another thing we should probably look into and consider is that we mandate, or the commission mandates, that there is a transfer station in LaSalle. We mandate there's a transfer station in Mexican Hat to take care of those garbage. And the fees we charge at the transfer stations takes care of the trash, but nothing takes care of the transportation of the trash. So we are, as the landfill, we're eating those fees every year. In other words, for the amount of transportation we have from the LaSalle transfer station alone back to the landfill is almost $100,000 a year. And so the landfill's budget is actually consuming that, supplementing that. And so, and maybe that's something they should consider that should be part of a tax supplement. I don't know. I don't know how you would consider that, but currently the landfill's enterprise fund is taking care of that fund for the commission.
Okay.
And Mexican Hat's not quite as much. It's more closer to 30 or 40,000 a year. But the LaSalle transportation is quite extensive, the transportation.
So I'd like to entertain a motion, Madam Chair, if I could.
This is a work
Oh, it's a
session.
work session.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's more just discussion and directional.
So clarification then, we're going to revisit this. If we're going with 4 months, it'll be August. We're going to resume our conversation. Is that what we're shooting for?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the meantime, we're going to try to visit with
Yeah, we'll work
Utah
with,
Navajo.
yeah, we'll talk to it.
Utah Navajo
Trust fund.
Trust Fund, but let's work with the chapters. I think
Yeah.
if the chapters can understand, and then they know what equipment is needed to continue the landfill from maximum operation, they'll
In the
understand.
meantime, too, we may get some news back from some of these other organizations we've been trying to work with, Mac and I, and maybe they will be helping supplement some of the stuff we need as well.
Right.
Well, and I think
There's been some good avenues we've explored.
yeah, that discussion that you're going to have with BIA or Indian Health, whoever it is in Window Rock, is pivotal and critical to us. They Indian Health was instrumental in paying for a portion of the landfill's creation, along with the CIB funds that we received. And so to strike up that conversation again with them is important so that they realize that even though they helped us create it, there's still an operational need, and hopefully we can get them to
Well, and
come back to
we're
that
also
partnership.
almost back to the point of recreating again.
Yes, yeah, yep. And so I think that conversation that we have with them is going to be poignant on the future of the landfill as well, because it does continue to serve the Navajo Nation even as far down as Kayenta. And so Kayenta sends their garbage up here, and so that they're half of
We actually serve 1/3 of the Navajo Nation.
Yeah.
One last suggestion: if you do get updates like that along the way in that 4-month time span, will you
Make sure you get them.
Let's get back on the agenda so that we can figure
Okay,
out where we're
we
at.
will.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and I think this is having a good discussion, because sometimes if we just get one way, we overlook other possibilities, and I think this will be in the long run.
I've been exploring lots of possibilities.
Yeah, anyway.
Okay,
But
thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Jen.
you
All
so
right,
much.
you bet.
and
Thank you much.
Thank you for all you do.
All right, thanks.
Oh, we need another board member.
Another employee. All right, this next one on the agenda, you have Kristen here to present the request. Just on the title here, it's discussion regarding a permit specialist. You all should have in your pocket that.
It's actually permit tech.
Oh, permit
We want to
tech.
get technical.
Oh yeah, permit tech.
So this position has been needed basically since I started about 18 months ago. We've been working on it. It's kind of reared an ugly head here lately, where my department has no staff in it but me. We have a lot of catching up to do, aside from needing this position always. So I'm proposing that we offer a part-time permit tech job under the Planning and Building Department. As we discussed in a meeting last week, one of the compromises, I originally asked for a full-time position. One of our compromises was to go to a part-time position, see how it goes with the economy. Because our department is so dependent on what happens with the economy, whether construction's up, down, we figured part-time is the minimum that we'll need, with the anticipation that if things go through the roof again, we could possibly bump this position up to full-time. So this position does not have benefits included with it, so you'll notice it's coming in at a slightly higher rate of pay. This is pretty standard pay for, I would say, unqualified hourly wages right now. And we are looking for somebody who is very qualified. It's going to be personality over anything else to fulfill this role, especially with some of the heat that our department has gotten recently. So it's between 24 and 28 hours a week. They will be pulled kind of in two different directions between me and the building official. I would say probably 25% assisting the building official and probably 75% assisting me. This next page right here, the little chart, this is as per our job descriptions. You can see there the tasks that I have responsibility of fulfilling, the tasks that the building official would have responsibilities fulfilling, and the tasks that the permit technician would have responsibility fulfilling. At this point in time, I'm doing all of it. So we are in a critical state of not operating effectively and really need this position to help us. The next thing I've included is my task record, because I think a lot of you have asked, why do we need this and why have we always needed this? So I've kept a running task record since I started, and I've just pulled a couple different times of throughout the year. So you can see from literally my first day to last week.
We did not have this in the package.
Nope.
Okay. No,
I think you had hopefully you had the summary at least.
I tried to listen to you while trying to look, so I just kind of concentrate looking at
Sure. So this task record, and I can give you a few minutes if you want to look through it. That just shows how many hours I'm putting in. That this part-time job could absolutely, it needs to help shave down some of those hours. I am not asking for money for me. I am asking for a better life. And continuously working 70, 80-hour weeks is not sustainable. When I signed on for this job, I knew it was going to take that for a little bit, right? And, Mac and I discussed, I'm like, okay, for 6 months or a year, I will just nose to the grindstone here. But as I'm looking at the future, it's not letting up at all. It's getting heavier in load. And so we have got to bring on additional staff to help us mitigate the applications that are coming through our door. A lot of this has been surrounded by the budget. And we have had several discussions about how can this pay for itself. And I know that we are going through some budget overhauls probably over the next year here. This department is a service. We should not be making money. We should be hitting zero every year. There are needs that are going to be coming up. For instance, a vehicle for our department is going to be coming up. Our lease is up in 2 more years, I believe. And so we need to start keeping the money that this department is generating in this department. And the reason why is so that we have what we need to accommodate what is happening out in the field. If construction is up, we're generating way more revenue. I'm going to need to take this permit tech to a full-time or hire another part-time. If things are kind of low, then maybe we look at what are we doing to not overextend ourselves. So I would say this is a minimum of what we need to be operational in the planning and building department. Hopefully we have a few more applicants for building official. That closes on Friday. But this permit tech is going to need to front load a lot of the paperwork. We are asking a lot more of our building official coming in than our previous building official. For instance, they're also going to have the short-term rental inspections on their plate as they're out in the field. So our building official really needs to be in the field all the time because that's what we're paying for. We're not paying high price for them to review applications, right? We're paying high price for using them at the best of their ability. So this permit tech would be doing a lot of the legwork to optimize both my time in my skill sets of what I can do best and in the building officials' time of what they can do best. And if you look at that revenue sources worksheet, this was in our budget. That is our anticipated revenue if things stay as they are now. We've already seen some triggers be pulled on some very large developments this year, and so that can fluctuate a lot. Our best years were 22, 23. We had huge increases. There was a lot of money pumped into the system. It was kind of post-COVID. Things were cranking back up. 24, I think, stabilized again, and I suspect 25, who knows what's going to happen. But this anticipated revenue worksheet is if things stay as they are. And you can see that that amount highlighted can well above and cover my salary, building official salary, and this part-time permit tech. Overall, if we maximize this permit tech job, so if we bring them in at $25 an hour at 28 hours a week, it will cost us $36,000, which is pretty darn minimal for the workload that they would be pulling for us. What questions do you have?
I have a question. This is the request for that position. What was the procedure? I mean, did you work with HR, the whole thing here?
Yep, so this has been reviewed and approved by HR to come to you.
Did they also approve the salary? I mean, the amount,
So
because
we talked about hours, what constitutes part-time, where's your cutoff that kicks into full-time with benefits. And so this position would be maxed out at 28 hours a week.
anyway, I just wish I had time to have look at this
We've got time
It should-
if you want
well,
to take
no.
a few. I have to go to the bathroom.
I know
so.
that quick I'm reading, so anyway, but I just want to know if you're familiar with the San Juan County policy. Did you
Yep.
have a copy of this?
Yep. I was never given a copy, but I found it myself. And
Okay.
yes, we are in line with the personnel policy. If you look on this chart right here, the second one down on my duties is to evaluate personnel needs and to get those posted.
Okay, so what the HR decided, did you have the money in the budget right now? Because you had to have money in the budget to hire somebody. Is that correct?
So for this first year, because you're comparing apples and oranges, right? So I asked for this in the budget, but we didn't get it. This department is going to have to eat this cost this year. But by December, when we reevaluate our budgets for next year, as long as things are going well, right, we can pay for ourselves. But right now, all of our budget gets swiped into the general fund. In addition to that, because the building official position has sat unfilled for almost 3 months, we are just hemorrhaging costs to Jones and DeMille right now. So we need to get this back under a predicted cost. And yes, this is going to take a hit to the general fund. But if we, throughout this year, reevaluate how we're budgeting and that we keep the revenue that we're creating into this department as a service, because that's what's going to set our fees from here on out. Do we need to raise our fees to cover our costs? Can we lower our fees and still have our costs covered? Right? So we're going to have to reevaluate that every year, but this is not a moneymaker for the county. Our fee schedule should reflect our costs. If we hit it just right, we're at zero every year. We don't make money for the county. We're a service to the community.
Okay, last time we had a contract coming from the department. It wasn't done properly. In the end, we didn't follow
This is
it.
aside from that,
Well,
and
no.
so that's kind of a done deal.
No, I was just talking about because at that point, when it came before us, and I was trying to stop it because I knew the amount asked was more than probably a lawyer makes. And we were able to fix it. It went to Mac fixed some things, and it went to
It didn't get fixed. It got totally kerfuffled.
Anyway.
And so now we have created this disaster of a mess in my department that I'm trying to fix now.
Yeah.
This is not a contract. This is a position to get us back on track. It's part-time. I feel like it's very well worth it. But I'm not discussing that contract any further.
No, I'm just saying that because of that, I thought, okay, we need to figure out how we follow the order of things. And so that's the reason I asked.
So this has been worked through with HR.
From the very beginning.
Yep. Not since the very beginning because I've been working on it since December of 23.
We work with administrator and with HR.
I have tried to work with the administrator and I have worked with HR since our discussions about 2 months ago.
Anyway, but so after the last time, and I decide, are we either just doing things by tradition or we have some rules? So I became familiar with this, and I can see that we are not following the rules.
So in this process, where are we not following the rules that as a department head, I have worked with HR to get a needed personnel posted?
So on here, did they go through here and I'm just on mine, what I look at is entry grade. We don't have grades or steps here any longer.
That's how it's been posted on our building official posting as well. So that was a standard.
For the permit technician?
That was a standard format that was taken from previous job postings from San Juan County.
Because I don't think we've ever had a permit technician position that
No.
we would take off. And so we do have to fix that because we don't have the grades on here. Also, in here it indicates that the position provides community outreach to promote economic growth and development opportunities. So isn't that part of a function of the economic development department?
Our department works with all departments.
100%.
We have to coordinate with assessors. So that's in there as a, we are happy to help, and we are trying to be good cop, and we are trying to find win-win solutions with applicants.
So maybe we change some of that language just to reflect what you had said, instead of where it looks like this position that's their responsibility. The general purpose of it is to promote.
I mean, they are a public represent. They are the first face that any applicant will see for our department.
Correct. For the planning.
What would you like that to say?
We can go through that and try to figure out how to better.
Let's fix it right now. So this position promotes
planning and zoning.
And opportunity for the betterment of San Juan County? Okay, yeah, so this position promotes planning and zoning and opportunity for the betterment of San Juan County. Okay.
Another thing, concern I have, we have lots of departments that need helpers. And I don't know how we can, we give you a second person. In the beginning, this position was half-time. Now we have you full-time. We give you another position. And so I feel like we have several departments that need a help. So
you are absolutely correct, but my department doesn't function without it. So I will have 2.5 people. One person will be in the field full-time. I need to be in the field more. So I'm planning to be in the field 1 day a week. And so we need somebody to hold down the office. This is just it's a support role. It's a lot of office assistant, administrative assistant. There's no fluff built in this job. This person is really going to be working hard.
You're talking about all the hours you've been doing. Is this a constant, all these hours that you put in?
I have been doing 40 hours a week for the last few weeks, and it is falling apart very, very quickly.
And even with your second person, when the second person hasn't started.
We have needed this job when Ben was here full-time, and I was here full-time, plus we still needed this support. So we have always needed this support. So that's where we're at. I, as I told you last week, it's not sustainable for me to work what I've been working. I'm happy to do 40 hours a week. And if things are slipping because we are short on staff, then the community needs to understand that that's what's happening.
Well, the community is not understanding right now.
No, they don't. So
they're not understanding. They're really unhappy with the last position just by the title of the position.
That's not this position. This is a permit tech.
But I have to go by. We are the one facing the public. We are representing the public, and so when we.
I agree with that, but you also cannot follow the public clamor. I would like to focus on the operational procedures of my department, and this is what I need to operate.
As elected officials, they do have to listen to the public. That's who elects them. And so I wouldn't call it public clamor like as in a planning and zoning sense, but if the public's reaching out to all of us, including departments, screaming.
Well, I can tell you right now, the public's reaching out to me because their applications are pending. Absolutely. Subdivisions are pending. Building permits are pending. There's some legal issues that we have to adhere to. We have time frames that we have to get stuff out, and right now we are not meeting those time frames. That is why several people have already called the state.
And there have been some help offered where we can assist. It's possible we can bring. We need to kind of brainstorm a little bit too. We can't just keep jumping with costs, especially with other departments need the same, have the same issue. And so, I don't know. I think I don't know what to say. I mean, I don't know what the Planning and Zoning Commission has decided. Are they part of this?
We've had discussions with them and with the chair.
Have they passed any resolution about?
They don't need to. This is a managerial
They're more
issue.
advisory to
Anyway,
the
but
commission. She's the liaison.
I mean,
between you two.
I don't feel that I already have to face the public. I say, how come we hire the other position? Because the title was different than what we had before.
I understand that. I need this
Yeah,
part-time
but,
position to be functional at a bare minimum.
Natalia has a comment. I don't know if she's allowed to say she's in the back.
So it's a work session, but
Commissioner Harvey.
are you welcome to planning assistance and help? Not,
This is,
not this type of help on the permit text.
I mean, this is permit tech / office assistant.
But what about for the planning and zoning? Because I think
I would love, this is it.
well,
This is it. So I don't know.
actually a certified planner to come in and help the
Sure.
department. Okay.
But where are we getting a certified planner in this area? We're not.
Southeastern Utah.
Time out. Can we hear what Commissioner Harvey says for a minute first before we go down that road?
Well, I want to start with a positive note. And first, I'd like to acknowledge you, Kristen, for taking the time to put together a good packet. Thank you. I know you worked hard on this and you took a lot of time to try and do what's best for your department. And I see that. I hear you. I think because we're in a work session and we're not on a session where we're taking action, I think this is an opportunity where we can compromise. And we just need to figure out what kind of compromise we can come to. I'm assuming, Mac, you're okay with the position posting, the description. We're making some changes.
We would have to make some changes. I worry about that pay. I don't know what comps you pulled for the pay, but I think we need to look at that across the board.
I pulled comps from the state of Utah, Transparent Utah Right to Know for permit technician.
Okay, so we have a regional comparison that was done from our study that would like to take a look at that. What we don't want to create is, as a permit tech, that compensation being higher than some of our existing functions that are similar in nature to this position. And so I do worry about the pay, and if we can change that language, that makes a little bit more sense. But then overall, it's really up to the commission's direction of whether or not this is posted or if this is the priority of the county
On pay,
itself.
we've got to get up with the times on pay. And I know we don't want to bring in somebody super high, but the one thing you have to understand is this is part-time, no benefits. And so we're not paying out that cost. This is just their wages. And so I think you need to keep that in mind of how to make this an attracting job so that we have applicants. We are not getting applicants for hardly any of our job postings.
Kristen, can I ask you about your timeline that you're thinking of right now? Quickly just run through your thought process in regards to how we're going to play this out. So if we're able to compromise on making the adjustments to the job description, lay out what your next steps are and what's the time frame you're working with is my question.
I mean, we've needed a lot in my department immediately. We're very behind. We're months and months behind. So what I would like to do is interview building officials next week. And because that closes this Friday, interview officials next week, have an offer out by Friday afternoon. And I would like the building official, since this person is going to be working so closely with them, that the new building official, whoever that be a part of this interview committee. So if we can get this posted within the next few days, we have to leave it open for a 10-day window. We've already been kind of communicating with people in the public that this is a potential for coming. Please let people know. And so people are already watching for it. So I would like to move this, as long as we have a good pool of applicants within our legal 10 days. I would like to go ahead and close it and interview that next week and get them in and going. We have a very unique situation right now to build this department the way it should be. It's an empty house. And bringing 2 people on at the same time is a good way where we can see what their skills are, what they're interested in, how to have some succession planning. One of the biggest things in my head when I first came on, Ronnie had just had his accident. Well, what happens when that happens? A permit tech, because they are so heavily involved in both the building side and the planning side, something happens to one of us. Car wreck, we're out for a month, 6 weeks, 2 months. The permit tech would know enough once we get them trained up to be able to limp this along. I think of my first day. I got thrown into an office with a cardboard box of flat files. There was no heat in the office, and they said go. And I want to onboard both these positions in a very positive way, where we can build our team ready to rock and roll, instead of bringing people in too low, not having the benefits for them to stay. We've got to make our jobs sustainable here. Stability is absolutely key in my department.
Thank you, Kristen. I don't mean to cut you off. The next question I want to ask is on the commission part, because this is a new position. What would it take for us to, on our side, would we have to amend the budget that we approved for December to do rearrange some numbers and then reapprove that budget?
We would have to look at it where we've had a vacancy in there. We'll just look at it overall. In June, we typically bring mid-year adjustments anyways, and can make changes in June if there's not enough room where you're heading into. So if you did post this position out, you're 2 weeks, and then you're into May. So there should be enough in the budget that was approved until June's changes. So about June is when we receive the tax information. We bring that budget change in July, August time period. So there would be enough to squish it in there. It's just, we've got to look at that pay. And I agree, it would be nice to offer the world. You have many departments that would love to have their staff making that type of pay. And so we would definitely look at it holistically for San Juan County.
This is not an unskilled job. I can bring in somebody unskilled, but it's going to take me time to train them. And that's where I need to pay them enough to stay, because it's going to take us 2 or 3 months to get them trained up to be highly efficient.
So I have a question. So you have 3 people on the field, working on the field. So then you will need a secretary?
We have one. Our building official will be in the field 95% of the time. I will be out in the field 1 day a week minimum. We're working on, once we get our team built, we're working on how to share our one truck so that everybody can take care of their duties. So this job, we are offering very flexible schedule to it. So if people have school-age children, we're willing to work with that. I really need somebody in the office to answer phones and emails from about 9 to 3. That's our hot time during the day. It frees us up to work most efficiently. It puts me doing what I need to do. It puts our building official doing what he needs to do. And it puts this person in supporting those roles. It's more bang for your buck.
And another thing is, we don't have the ordinance passed yet, so we don't know what kind of personnel we need until that.
I need this now. I've needed it a long time.
Until it's decided. Anyway, Commissioner.
So, I mean, I understand Commissioner Stubbs' concerns because, you know, anytime we have a position with this, it's always money, or any position, it's money. However, the other part that I also see is the fact that we have this ordinance that's out there that needs passed. We have public outcry. We have all these things that are pending. And yet I feel like, I mean, your department is basically almost standstilling right now. And so in order to be self-sustaining, we've got to get the work moving. We've got to get it generating. That's why, hence the building, you know, the building official. I forgot the name we're using on that. And there's certain things by law that we have to help fill that. So it kind of, you know, where's that balance? I mean, I think the Attorney Nelson kind of could speak. I mean, he works with your department very closely. We also have legal that can be pending and or is pending, and many
Correct.
calls to the state. So I guess that's the question that I would ask to the other two commissioners is what road do you take with all those issues that are out there and pending? And I guess maybe I lean more on the side of let's get in and get the department up and move. Let's get it moving. It has been stagnant for 3 months. I mean, and obviously you've dropped to your 40 hours a week, which I see and understand why. But I guess the other, from my standpoint, the calls that I get and the public that is frustrated is no one's in the building or this or this or this. And it's because we are at a standstill. So we've got to figure out how to move forward and which way to go and what we need to do.
Doing my job until we have staff.
Yeah.
We're just in absolute put out fires every day.
Do you want to speak to that?
Madam Chair, if I could, I'm trying to push towards a compromise here. And so our timelines is this. We can't approve any position today because it's not on our budget. We're not scheduled to meet until May the 6th.
It wasn't approved in your budget.
And so there's a process on our end. And I think Administrator has kind of highlighted that in his response. We need to move some budgetary items around, and we have to officially bring that to the public agenda to do an approval. So I'm outlining the commission's timeline for May 6th. What I'd like to hear in confidence to move to that next step is we're willing to compromise. What we're not compromising on is wages right now. So can we compromise on wage?
I would like to get this position posted and start receiving applications, even if we take the rate of pay off of it at this point in time, just so that even if we leave it open for a month, I want to get it out in the public so that we can start receiving applications. In the meantime, working behind the scenes to come up with a budget and shift that budget.
Okay, I'm good with that. Yeah.
I would never support it. I'm sorry to say that, because we just have one of our workers just left very upset. I don't know what's bothering her. And I don't know. I think when we, what I hear you saying, it's either 3 of us or none of us. Correct. So we have not been working. I mean, I'm sure there's some things that can be happening when we have a position that's 40 hours. Something should be happening in those 40 hours. And that's the things that I hear when I go to the grocery store or go places, and they wonder why we're acting the way we're acting. And I know, I mean, it's the saddest thing when me and Mac are looking at people how to give a raise. It's a quarter here and a quarter there. I agree. I know people can make more money at McDonald's, but we don't have the money if we start with one department giving everything to one department. It'd be nice for everybody to have a purpose situation. I understand that. But as
But this
I represent
department
the
supports
public.
itself. This department supports itself. It's not coming out of general
Well-
fund after this year.
But
And
you
so-
lost, you
But
lost a
we're setting
bluff
precedents with
and
it.
Monticello pay.
We have. So because of our hold up with building officials, Monticello and Bluff have gone their own route
And
with
so
the
we
building
lost that
official.
revenue, right?
Which was minimal, but it is a factor. I don't think it's going to affect the overall budget that dramatically. So it sounds like I have two commissioners supporting this, and so I will move ahead with HR to make those adjustments.
Did you want to do them? Or I have to do-
I just need assurance that we're compromising on wage for my support. That's important.
Yep. So we'll take that rate of pay off and get it posted, and then come back when we actually have a pool of applicants. We'll look at what we can pay.
Are you good with that, Mac?
I'm sorry.
Is the compromise, is that acceptable?
So
Is
yeah,
there
we
any
can work on the
areas?
wage and then make the changes that that we talked about before, making sure it wasn't economic development. And then if that's your guys' desire as the commission, then we can get this posted. We do have to fix the grade. We no longer offer grades, especially on a part-time position, so we would have to eliminate that.
Okay, so I'll get rid of grades. We're getting rid of the hourly rate,
And then
and we're making
language,
those
the
adjustments.
position requires community
Okay.
outreach.
I'll wrap that up with HR and get it posted.
So are you good with that? And-
I'm not good with that. So, I mean, I don't think we should post something. I don't know. I feel like we already had two people, and because we don't have three, we have zero work being done. And I know there's some things we can be doing, and so I cannot. I mean, I represent the public, and I cannot. The public's already upset with what we did already, and so I mean, the two of you are free to decide, but I'm not gonna be part of it.
I think we've got to get the department up and going. I think if it can support itself, the funds will support this department and get it moving. I think that's a lot of the public outcry is because we've got to get things done. We have to get things done. And there's so many things that are stagnant that do help sustain this department.
Correct.
According to your revenue. So I'm willing to support Commissioner Harvey with those compromises if you're good with that.
Correct.
I'm supportive. We're willing to work on the wage, accepting Mac's recommendations. And I would even say let's meet between this meeting and the May 6th official commission meeting to make sure we're all on the same
But we're
page.
not posting the
Do you
job.
want to do that
She
before
want to
we
go.
post it?
Before, I think would be
Okay,
best.
so have another meeting with all three of you before we post it.
And you and
The-
HR, I think we should have everybody.
And then
involved.
can we do an administrative as
This is all
opposed-
administrative. That's why we put it in the work session.
Okay.
This falls under your executive hat and not a legislative hat, and so
Would it be
So we could
possible to
hold-
meet within this week, please?
not for me.
Can we
This-
move to
Or early next week?
I could do next
Based
week.
on our
Next week?
previous building official, I do not want this to get wrapped up in meeting after meeting after meeting. We have to have a deadline of, okay,
I'm willing to work to do next week
okay.
when with the
You wanna- We
administrator.
can talk to Rosa and have Rosa set something
Could we
up.
do Tuesday at 9?
So if you can get the changes,
Yeah.
and then we can take a look
I
at the
don't know about
changes.
Mr. Harvey. I'll have to see what his schedule is, but
I'm fine with Tuesday.
Okay.
Tuesday.
Does that work
let
for
me
you,
look.
Mac?
Let me see what Tuesday looks like.
I think this is a great exercise in compromising, working together to try to get the maximum outcome.
Tuesday is the 22nd.
Yeah, I could do Tuesday at 9. I
Night?
pop at 9.
So-
Tuesday night. Yep, midnight.
Yeah,
You all.
I'm like, well, I'm open.
Cemetery tour.
So 9.
I may have. I'm still waiting for a confirmation on a time, but I think it's at 10. So if it is, if that changes,
So you're good.
let's
for
do 9.
Tuesday
9
at
on Tuesday.
Okay, I'll send out a.
And then HR will need to be
So you
involved in
good?
that.
Tuesday at 9.
I'll be there, and then
Commissioner Harvey's good at Tuesday at 9. So next Tuesday at 9.
Oh, will
so
you
make
make sure HR
make the
knows?
changes
Yep.
and we can have
Okay.
HR there.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn work session.
Yes.
I second it.
all in favor say aye.
I.
Aye.
Aye.